Mr. A here, saying, how y'all doing? Yo! Are you ready to rumble? Or should I say tumble? Cause I don't stumble or fumble like a Gregor Brian Crumble. Standing on the ground, flat feet firm, killing worms and germs.
Welcome to the Rumble. We are back and better than ever, helping you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. We don't want you sucker punched, so we are here each and every week helping you keep your guard up. I am the mouth of the South, Jeremy Lavelle, with Remedy Claims Consulting. Alongside me is Mr. Brent Hooper of Max Claims out of Baltimore, Maryland. We just call him the Beast of the East, and the ever lovely, the cautiously charismatic and sagaciously salacious, the love of my life, the one and only
Hi.
Sagaciously salacious.
You reminded me. Yeah, sagaciously salacious. Dude, you reminded me of the beginning of V for Vendetta when he does that whole like monologue, and it's an alliteration of V words.
Oh
You're
yeah.
welcome.
Well, I try. I do what I can.
Yeah.
I absolutely.
That was the end of my story.
Oh,
That was the end of my story.
That's a good story. Tell it again.
I was.
Yeah.
It blew past me at 90 miles an hour. So
We have big news. 214 members in our Facebook group.
that's incredible. I am super stoked about
Yep.
that.
We have some notable people that just joined. TJ McCormick just joined our group.
Oh, big shout out to TJ. That's roofer.com, right? That's who he is. Right.
Yep.
Okay. Who else has joined the ranks of the pain of the claim?
Miss Sarah Parker.
Miss Sarah Parker.
Mr. Matt Mulholland.
The hat.
And I think that's it in the last couple days.
Man, speaking of Matt, have you seen his his advertisements for the how to beat the engineer courses that he does in sort of this retro style?
I love
guess I don't know what you call it. I don't know why I think it's
like a vintage boxing.
Yeah, it's like a vintage boxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I have seen that.
I think that is brilliant.
I have
By the
seen
way,
that.
I think it is super awesome, the stuff that he's done there. He is
He's a clever guy, that's for sure. He's a very smart individual.
well,
So
Leroy Raffle, the co-founder of Arby's, has died.
we have
Arby's is Arby's is my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ving Rhames is the voice behind the Arby's,
Do
but
it
my
again.
favorite Ving Rhames line.
We have the meats.
Yeah.
We have the meats. But my favorite Ving Rhames line is this: "You hear me talking, hillbilly boy? I ain't through with you by a damn sight."
That was good. So, a moment of silence for the co-founder of Arby's. Okay.
That's enough of that.
Yeah.
There we go. So, guys, today we're going to be talking about various forms of collaboration, and it's going to come to you in 3 15-minute rounds. When you hear this sound, it is the beginning of the round, and when you hear this sound, it is the end of the round. Now, remember, Brent and I are not in an argument. It is not a debate show. It is more of a discussion and kind of an open conversation between us. As always, we love to hear your comments. Please drop them below. If you have any questions concerning what we talk about, we look forward to hearing it. If you hear anything cool at all, it is not Brent or myself. It is Baby Cakes over there making us sound absolutely amazing, which I completely and totally appreciate. We could not do this without her. So I'm going to let you know that round 1 starts right after this. Military veterans and first responders need our help. Many of them have trouble transitioning to civilian work and life, but they can thrive in meaningful and rewarding careers. Veterans Claim Victory is a 501c3 nonprofit helping veterans and first responders transition to civilian work in the insurance claims industry. We can reach many of these heroes and assist in education, training, job placement, and support regardless of the insurance claim career that they choose. For more information, please, guys, visit veteransclaimvictory.org. Round one, collaborating with experts. So, Brent, how many? I'll start. How often do you bring in experts into a claim? Does it need to be complicated? Do you do it on simple ones? Tell us kind of where you use them and how.
So I'm going to start with, I think the word expert, I think we talked about this a little bit, but in a different context in a prior episode. But I think expert is sort of it's a weird word that is often used out of context. In my corner of the world, I consider anyone that knows a lot more about a particular thing than me a viable resource, right? Now, in the claims process, generally someone that's licensed, insured, bonded, they are credentialed in some sort of way to perform a particular labor burden is someone that, in my mind, qualifies. Expert, again, I'm going to try to steer clear of that word for right this minute, but I will seek out anyone at any time that I think knows more about a particular topic than me. Whether that's a general contractor, a plumber, an electrician, any sort of tradesman, a carpenter.
Your dad.
I bring them. I will talk to sort of, my dad. And it's funny because see. Again, it's like this is such a broad thing and it's such an interesting topic because I feel like on some level in our industry, the word expert carries some sort of weight. And, me bringing an expert into a claim doesn't mean, or me consulting with a quote expert doesn't mean that, I had said person produce a 30-page report on the claim. Me consulting an expert might consist of calling 2 or 3 plumbers that I know, sharing a couple photos with them, and just getting an opinion to help me contextualize what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So that's my initial answer. I'm constantly consulting, trade specific individuals, on claims. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's kind of what showed up for me. What do you think?
Well, what I think you've opened up is a can of worms on, different sort of expert resources is really than just experts. You know what I'm saying? So you can there's these resources that we use that contain a level of expertise that may not be something that I put in writing or submit official document with, but maybe it's just an expert that helps me have a better understanding of what's going on within either the project, the claim, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes that expert is an attorney that I have a really good relationship with that I can literally pick up the phone on a Sunday and call the guy and go, hey, I've got a quick legal question. And he's like, shoot, hit me with it. And I value that sort of thing so that I know exactly, that it helps me know how to behave. Like I even text the guy a lot of times. And for those of you who might know who he is, it's Scott Hunziker. He has helped me out on a ton of claims. And he's also there as an incredible resource and an expert that may never end up in a claim file, but it helps me with my understanding of what's going on. So there's that category. Then there's the good old spare time.
Hey, can I interject? Really quick. Sorry, I'm really sorry because you just cleared something up for me, which is sort of distinguishing between what I kind of think about as an expert, which is like, are they writing a report on their letterhead that's going to show up in my claim file? When by and large, the vast majority of sort of investigating or resource pooling that I do is just like, it's the general knowledge stuff to like help contextualize the particular loss that I'm working on. So thank you for doing that, because you just sort of cleared it up in my head. Anyway, continue. Like there is a delineation there.
Right. And so sometimes that expert is for my own personal edification and understanding. Okay. Then I have the category of the what I call I was going to refer to it as the spare tire guy. And what I mean by spare tire is it's not necessarily anything you want to lead with on every sort of situation, but it's really great when you've got them, because they can get you out of a bind pretty quickly. And that's kind of where I throw the category of my dad. Now, I used to say all the time that if he can't fix it, it isn't broke. And generally, by and large, if he can't fix it, it's not that it's not broke, it's that we didn't have any duct tape or baling wire around. You know what I mean? And that's the only reason he can't fix it. So, I mean, he can even fix something that isn't broke with duct tape. It's incredible. I've seen him shove, get cars started with a gum wrapper. I don't know. I don't know if he's crossing the old school solenoid back in the day, to start. It was just, he just does these amazing things. It's like this car has no business turning over, but he's the expert that can get it done in sort of that weird, funky kind of way. And you understand it's like, okay, that's going to work. And so you've got that category of expert. And then you've got the one that does the more formal, I'm going to write you a report or a protocol, and these are our findings, and here's the degree, followed by the stamp, and all of the reasons you should listen to me, and then there's that guy. I find myself using the latter of those categories less and less and less, and it is more, I bring them in when it is clear that it is going to have to be there for the carrier to accept it. You know what I mean? When you get into those situations where you can't just pump, 190 line items into Xactimate and spit out a number, and that's what they're going to take. You know what I'm saying? It's more complicated than that. And I could get into some case studies on this, but that is way out of the depth of what Xactimate is intended to do, or Symbility, or even just, your general everyday contractor. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little bit deeper and a little bit more complicated than that. And when you have those, and how you bring them in and get those relationships built, is tricky for a public adjuster, because by and large, those costs are not, paid for, and you might be able to get them covered by the carrier, but a lot of times they'll stare you in the face and go, it's your job to prove the loss and the expenses therein.
So you just hit like another trigger. It's funny because we're so used to the insurance companies, sort of pulling in an engineer. It's kind of the go-to. Well, that's our expert, and that's our report, and that's what we're doing, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, we're so kind of used to that, and we all know that, they're paying Eddie Engineer from XYZ firm to come out, and they're paying them $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000, whatever it is, a couple $1,000 to come out and write their thing, and and by and large, like you just said, it's on a claim to claim basis, depending on the situation. Well, those proceeds aren't always like readily available. Could we throw $1,000 or $1,500 or whatever on every claim to bring in some quote unquote expert to stamp a report? I guess, but who's paying for it, and is it necessary? And so I think that's probably a topic for a different episode, but that's a really interesting sort of conundrum. We're used to an engineer being referred to as an expert, like a subject, and they're not. Like, the term expert to me is ruined. You know what I mean? Like, it's lost its luster, and I blame insurance companies for that. But that's neither here nor there. It can get expensive, I think, is the point. One of the points I was getting at is just it can become very cost prohibitive to, bring in 3 or 4 people on every interior water loss to write a report. It's not really practical.
So what's the number one reason, Brent? Let me just ask you this question. And there's no trick questions here, and I'm not trying to be coy, but what's the number one reason a carrier hires an expert?
I'll give you my answer, and I'll give you their answer. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their answer is so they can do a thorough and complete investigation and, quote, get it right. My answer is so they can get a report written that in some form or fashion either provides the basis to deny or limit coverage and or deny or limit coverage that's already been extended. In other words, if they've already extended coverage, they get a report to come out that, get a report populated that says, hey, this is due to something that's not covered. And therefore, the insurance company turns around and says to the homeowner, hey, we already did you this favor of paying you X, Y, and Z. But unfortunately, this isn't even a covered loss. So that's my answer.
Well, I think it's the latter that I'm wanting to point at is what we, and by and large, what I believe that I think is true. But unfortunately, even the people you're talking to at the carrier, which I believe are good people, just trying to do their job, really and truly. And I think
yes, I agree.
I don't think that there is any malintent by any of these guys when they say they're going to send out an engineer, because I believe in some kind of way they actually think that engineer is going to come back with the truth. And we know that's not the case. And this is what further. See, I have lately started stating that I don't believe that carriers are training their adjusters. They're indoctrinating them now. They used to train them. They trained me. And I know what I still apply the things that I learned in that training. My entire approach and understanding of how claims work and how an estimate works, and all of the different things that we do that seems to be so widely accepted and, best I can tell, fairly accurate process of handling claims. That still applies to how I do it as a public adjuster. But what I'm seeing now is they're not trained anymore. They're indoctrinated. And so they're telling them that this is the way that it gets done. And then if you can't get it done this way, then you go ahead and send out an engineer. And in their head, it comes back, well, that's exactly what I thought. The engineer agrees with me. I'm thinking the right things here. Based on what I was trained, the engineer found the same exact information. And they think that they are this unbiased third party that is going out, but that is not the case. I have found that the only reason a carrier would even hire an engineer is they think that they are going to need a substantial amount of proof to support their coverage decision that is a denial. So they are making sure that they have the optics of conducting a full and complete investigation by hiring what is now bastardized, the word experts, by hiring this bastardized version of an expert to create a report in which they have absolutely no authority to speak to. And now we have this report. We've further indoctrinated the ignorant, and now they think the way that they think it is right, and they become more emboldened in their error. And that is what is happening, by and large, which sounds wildly philosophical. And so you go from there, Brent, and I'll let you take the last 2 minutes of this round, because that is what fires me up the most right there.
Yeah, and so here's the thing. In effort to, I guess, kind of button it up, collaborating with experts, or I'm going to rename this segment, how to effectively resource pool, right?
Great.
The scenario that you just described is so common that it feels reflexive, man. It's like breathing. Like, you go through the process and the carrier does what they're going to do. And so anyway, it's interesting because the more I run into it, the more that I find these reports are so easy to discredit. And the point of this episode wasn't to talk about engineers. It was to talk about effectively resource pulling. And so, whether they get brought in on a structural loss, a water loss, a freaking roof claim, or whatever, when the carrier brings in their person, make sure that you've got the resources around you to actually run it through some sort of professional testing. And you don't need 37 reports to prove it, right? It's make sure that, and by the way, if you don't have it, then pick up the phone and call some people. Hey, I'm a public adjuster. This is who I am. This is what I do. I was wondering if I could set up a meeting. I'm looking for a second opinion. Be surprised how many service providers are looking to network and reciprocate, efforts and services. But the resource pooling is imperative, and it doesn't always need to show up in the form of being on letterhead or in some formal email.
Right.
So that was the most brutal timer.
But to kind of button up what you were saying there, Brent, I just want to put a bow on this thing, if we will. I just want to, as far as resource pooling goes, I think that's the point. Is that we learn how to adequately and accurately gather these things as we begin to gather, information that we're going to present to the carrier, or whether we're going to, it helps in our strategy and our approach and our conceptual understanding of how this stuff all gets completed. So carpet goes in different than tile. What are the differences that go on there? And I realize that's simplistic, but that's my point. So, but we'll get into some other stuff about how I think strategy, how we come up when we collaborate with others. Strategy becomes a very important part, and I am going to get into that because round 2 starts right after this. When choosing someone to help with your online marketing, make sure you go with someone that has years of experience. Our good friend Sally at Thrive has over 20 years of digital marketing experience. She can build you a beautiful 15-page, sleek, interactive website, post on your social media platforms multiple times a week. She can do a video, an amazing CRM to manage and maintain and nurture your clients' text, email marketing, review generation, a business listing on 60-plus search engines, including 3 voice networks, appointment scheduling, estimates, invoices, payment processing, and more. She will also create for you on Google, a Facebook page, in Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. If you need these for your businesses, she'll help you create those pages on all of those sites. If you already have these pages, she'll optimize them for you as well. Call or message Sally today. If you want to get started, you can reach her at 214-789-1651. Again, her name is Sally Brigance. Her number is 214-789-1651. And you'll also get a landing page the day you sign up. When you send her a referral that signs up with her, she'll credit your billing account. Logos are also available, and she also offers a lead generation service and SEO, search engine optimization, where she can guarantee you to appear on the first page of Google or your money back. It is spelled THRYB, and you can find my good friend Sally Brigance, and that's spelled SALLIE. Brigance, BRIGANCE, and she can be reached once again at 214-789-1651. Round 2, collaborating with other public adjusters. Brent, you and I have been collaborating with each other for 3 years, and it has been one of the most beneficial professional relationships that I think I have ever had in my life. I would say that. And you're not going to find it just anywhere. I mean, we got really lucky, wouldn't you say?
Yes. Unequivocally.
And when we decide to, and so I like bringing you in on my claims because I think I go back to a story, and I'm actually still working this claim right now, where the desk adjuster just completely ignored the mold protocol. And I was ready to rip the ceiling fan out of the ceiling because I was just so freaking angry at the obtuseness of this individual to do it this way. And it's like, my God, what are you thinking? Anyway, long story short, I wanted to take them to appraisal. I had Brent all keyed up, ready to take them to appraisal. And I was like, we're going to go in there and just get this thing over with. Let's get it done. And Brent was like, oh, okay, hang on a second, man. Slow your roll. Who is not emotionally attached or angry at this person, mind you, and gave me a lot of really good clarity and just told me to fire off a 2-sentence email. How do you expect us to do that when this is the protocol? What's your plan here? And I essentially did that, and the entire thing, so the entire mold portion of it got approved with that email, which I was happy about. And all of these things essentially got accepted. And now we're working with the rest of the claim, and they're ready to start construction on it, blah, blah, blah. The point is that it was the collaboration with a guy that completely understood the position I was in, understood why I was angry or frustrated or whatever you may call it, but really was the voice in what was going on and kept this claim from getting really ugly just with a 2-line email that I was too mad to think about writing. And I think when we can collaborate with other public adjusters, especially if you've got that guy in your world, man, it is super beneficial. I'm going to tell you that.
I could not agree with you more. It's in anything. It's in any profession, you know. When you have people around you, and look, everybody says mentor up, and I'm a firm believer in all that. We're not necessarily talking about mentors. We're talking about like that peer-to-peer sort of relationship where, you know, I don't even know how many claims for me you've settled. You know, like honestly, like, you know,
I probably don't either, right?
When we're, yeah, dude, it's just like the things that we spitball about, we might talk about it today and it manifests itself 2 months from now. Like it's kind of one of those things. And I guess if there's a point to what I'm saying, it's like, I kind of get a sense in our industry that a lot of PAs look at other PAs as their competition more so than an opportunity to learn and work together. I know that sounds sort of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Utopic. But I mean, what's there, like 50,000 PAs in the country or some stupid low number like that? Like,
hey, Donna,
I mean,
if you get a chance, can you can you Google something for us? How many, big or large number, whatever, how many homeowners claims were filed in the United States last year? And remember, some of those 50,000.
Collaborate.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, we've got a weird delay.
Yeah, dude, it's just no, dude, you're. So my thing is like, you know, obviously you and I collaborate all the time, and Alex, and you know, there's probably about, I don't know, 5 or 6 of us that all talk. Like if I don't talk to you, then I'm talking to Alex or Wade or this person, you know, and we all talk to each other. And if I don't answer my phone, then you end up talking to one of those guys before you talk to me. And hell, sometimes I talk to all 4 of you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but the thing is, it's in large part, we all fly under different banners. You know, you know, you don't work for me and I don't work for you. But the benefit is the litmus test. You know, in most instances, in less than 120 seconds, I can explain a scenario and you can give me some sort of launch pad. And I would say that about any of the guys or gals that, you know, we talk to. And so if you're a PA and listening and you don't kind of have those people, you know, we have our Facebook group, like Jeremy and I try to make ourselves readily available. And we're not coming from the point or from the perspective of like, we know all things. It's the exact opposite. Or sometimes you just need a freaking reminder, you know? So I know I'm kind of rambling, but the collaborating with other PAs on some level, man, I feel like there's like a strange stigma. I feel like there's a weird stigma out there. Like you don't want to talk to other guys or gals, or you don't want to commingle too much because, you know, they're your competitors or they're this or they're that. Or I get all that, but it's really helpful to have some people around you. Hell, it's really helpful. I mean, you're in Texas, I'm in Maryland. We see different shit, but that's also why it's great. You know what I mean? Like, we work in different markets, and a lot of things that I see up here are in some ways helpful for you, and vice versa. So again, I know I'm rambling, but I just have a deep sort of feeling and a lot of sentiments about PAs collaborating. And for the third time, unfortunately, I feel like there's a lot of sort of shin kicking when it comes to this stuff.
Well, I think that there's a couple of things that go on. I can be honest with you. I think claim envy is something. I don't think it's serious, but I think it's something.
Yes, that's a thing. That's a thing.
Is that like penis envy?
That's absolutely.
I think it's something. I don't think it should be something. And I don't think the other thing should be something, but it's something. It's a thing, you know. And it's, I think claim envy is one of those things that we don't really want to talk about. I think pride is another one. We don't pick up the phone and go, man, I cannot get this. You know, they've approved 30 of 37 squares, and I can't get the other 7 squares. Of the one thing a PA should be able to do is get the other 7 freaking squares roof and covered. And if you can't do that, why are you even in this business? You know what I mean? And it's like, you don't want to pick up the phone and go, Brent, I got 30. I can't get the last 7 squares. How do I make these guys do this? I've hit them with this policy thing, this statute thing, this bulletin thing. I've done everything I know to throw at them, and I can't get it covered. And we don't want to pick up the phone and say that to somebody. And when we, and when we're,
you know what?
So anyway, I'm going to stop just for a second. Kind of.
Oh my God, you are so spot on. You are so spot on. You know, you are so spot on. And it's so, dude, as soon as you said that, I'm sitting to myself like, you know, I don't want to pick up the phone and call fucking Jack Hanks on a residential claim and say, hey, Jack, I need your help. You know what I'm saying? This dude's on fucking commercial roofs all day. I don't want to call him about my stupid claim. You know what I mean?
On the roof, he's on an airplane somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like,
the numbers,
and I say that out of pure, you said claim envy, insecurity, whatever, you know, like, yeah, I envy him. You know, you'd be an asshole not to. But, you know, it's, you know, Matt Mulholland is like a freaking guru. You know, I don't want to call Matt about, you know, he's got more YouTube content on freaking shingles than I have time to watch in the next 6 months. I don't want to call him and tell him I can't get something approved. But look, all kidding aside, and I say that all of that out of nothing but respect and reverence. It's interesting because, like, you know, on some level, you should feel confident because we've all freaking been there.
And
there is no if and or but.
It has nothing to do with experience. It's just sometimes it's a brick wall. It just is. It doesn't really matter. And so I have learned, you know, as painful as it is, to go ahead and make the phone call. And I got to give Brent credit. Brent's always going to have my back. He's not going to expose me. And I would hope that you would have anybody that would allow you to be as transparent. You know, and if they're not, you know, give me a call and leave it on my voicemail. I don't have time to take all the phone calls, but you can call it up and leave it on my voicemail, and I will probably get you some sort of response. And it's like, and it's never going to give you permission to give up. You know, so if that's what you're calling,
right,
is looking for permission to give up, you're not going to get that from me. You're not going to get that from Brent. I never call Brent for that. What I'm trying to do is, what am I missing here? You know, and sometimes you're not missing anything. and you just double down on everything that you've done. You reiterate everything that you've said, and if they don't want to do it, then ship it off to the attorney. If it's worth shipping it off to the attorney, or chalk one up that it's like, look, guys, I did the best I could. Here's my work product. Here's my proof of loss, all the proof I've sent, every argument I made, every phone conversation that I've had. This is why documentation is important. You can hand that work product over to your client, and they won't expect any more out of you. You know, and some of these things just have to be settled at the court level, and there's just nothing we can do about that. Donna, how many claims did they file in the United States?
I don't have an exact number, but it says there's an estimated 70 million insured homes, and they in 2022, 1 out of every 20 had a claim filed.
1 out of every 20. So that's 5%. Is that not right?
70 million divided by 20. 70. Hold on, I got my calculator out. Divided by 20. 3.5 million claims.
So after that, we have determined that there are 3.5 million claims, give or take. And as Brent said earlier, something stupid low like 50,000. So that's 3.5 million homeowners claims. That does not count the litany of claims that come in on the commercial side, that sort of thing that might have to be worked, those sorts of things. So this is 3.5 million homeowner claims. And that is, I mean, guys, there is no reason to not pick up the phone. There's no real claim envy. There's no, I would not let that stop you, and don't let the pride get in front of you. Even if you have something that should be settled, you know, we're looking at 3.5 million claims here a year. We'll never get to all of them. And even if you go with the current math that we only get to deal with about 13% of them, that's still a ton of freaking claims. You know, that's 400,000 claims or whatever. I mean, I don't know how many you can handle, Brent, but, you know, if you do the math, 50,000 public.
Oh, that was, yeah. Like, I don't even know how many claims I did last year. I could pull a report, but you know, I ain't even scratching the surface as it relates to, you know, just the number of property claims in Maryland.
Right.
You
and so that's why I'm saying it is like there's so many claims out there, and I am so thankful for I mean, I don't ever have any trees fall on houses out here, Brent. It's super rare. Super, super rare. And to have been able to work the claim that I got to work with you, I realized it was over the phone and I was looking at photographs, but getting to work that tree claim that the crack went all the way down into the basement from the top of the house all the way down to the basement, right? Tree hits this thing, and for whatever reason, you know, the carrier, I mean, they cut the crack in half and said, we're covering this part, but we're not covering this part. And it was the most ridiculous thing I had ever heard. So there we go. Collaborating with other adjusters is awesome. I highly recommend it. If you can get into like some kind of networking groups or even just the Facebook groups and peel it off into a direct message on Messenger or something like that, exchange some phone numbers and see if there's people that you like, you like, you know,
go to our Facebook group.
Go to our Facebook group. There's lots of guys in there that are looking to help.
Start a dialogue in there, please.
Absolutely. And
David doesn't feel the need to post.
David, you keep posting, buddy. You keep posting. I like it. Anyway, Brett, that's you know, we can start there, but as things grow and as things grow and progress, that kind of thing, you can build relationships out of those places that can be very vital roles as it pertains to collaborating on claims, and you don't feel all by yourself. And when you do feel kicked in the teeth, you know, it's nice to have that guy on the other end of the phone. It's like, dude, that could happen to anybody. It's nothing you did wrong. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I said this earlier. I think I wanted to, but we were moving at a blistering pace there. You know, whether it's the guys that you see online all the time or whatever, we've all been there. That thing that you're feeling, we've all been there. So again, it's like the worst question the worst question is the one you don't ask. I hate that expression, but it's like, and I realize that it can be a little bit daunting or uncomfortable or whatever, because you don't want to look like an idiot. We all take a certain level of professional pride in what we do and our knowledge and this and that. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of people out there. And last I checked, there is no real standard training for what we do. There are some great schools out there. We all know what they are. But at the end of the day, if you put 100 public adjusters in the room and you present those public adjusters with the same loss, you're going to get 95 different answers. Period. So chatting it up with some of your industry folks and colleagues is just
absolutely,
it's very helpful.
Yeah,
it's a good thing to do.
It really is good, and do not discount that, because as it pertains to the Facebook group, we are absolutely there to help. I am all over that thing. As soon as it comes in, I am watching it closely. So if you guys have questions, I love answering them. So, again, yeah, guys, collaborate with each other. And we're going to get into a little bit more collaboration. We're going to talk a little bit about support staff and support roles. And round 3 starts right after this. The Pain of the Claim is looking for sponsors, and we would love to promote a business that provides services or equipment to public adjusters, restoration companies, and roofing contractors and general contractors. Examples would be like safety gear, roofing-related products, restoration equipment, payment services, CRMs, reporting services, expert services, anything like that. We want to help you tell your story and get you together with the people that really need your help. So give us a call. We can get your name out there and we can grow with you. Round 3, collaborating with support staff. Brent, you've got a couple of different people in your office, that work with you. And you have had kind of like different roles, some that are more claim driven, such as like estimators, things like that are more claim related and not so much administrative. It's more involved in what's going on. And it's really kind of your workflow or your CRM that kind of directs how they go. Is that right? So that there's not a lot of individual direction every day on what's going on. It's more of a machine kind of thing.
That's the goal. You have SOPs, and ideally your software stack facilitates your process or your standard operating procedures. So you come up with how you want the process to look, sort of step by step, and hopefully your tech stack can be a means to that end. As it relates to personnel, yeah, I have a few folks in the office and a few folks out of the office that are my backbone. And the way that, all right, so as it relates to claim related activities, I kind of draw a line in the sand between, I call it the front end and the back end, and then everything in the middle. And on the front end, the back end, and everything in the middle, there's administrative heavy tasks, and then there's claim driven tasks. And the way that I separate them is like, so an example of a claim driven task would be, talking to an adjuster about, hey, you told us 2 weeks ago you'd have your revised estimate. Where is it? Or we got to get an inspection scheduled, or this company, like claim specific, claim directives, claim tasks that are that. Administrative driven tasks. Again, this is by no means like accepted jargon by anyone other than me and my office, but Administrative driven tasks are things like the check comes in, who's scanning it in, who's updating the CRM, who's logging it, who's taking it to the bank, who's scanning in the deposit slip. Like, so it's, of course, that check is related to a claim, but that's not like a claim task. It doesn't make much sense. Again, this is not accepted jargon by anyone else. That's just sort of the line that I draw, though. When we get a 115 page freaking policy at the office via snail mail, who's scanning it in, who's getting it into the claim, updating the claim, and then sending an email to the appropriate public adjuster to let them know that we just received this policy for this particular claim, right? You've got claim tasks, and then you've got administrative tasks.
So that is one set of support staff that how Brent looks at things and how Brent operates his internal sort of workings. One of the things that we do, and where I differ a little bit, is that I have got here in Texas where we have a ton of roof claims. I mean, you could have your water heater break and everybody wants to inspect the roof. It's like, let's make sure that water heater didn't mess the roof up. We got to get that roof claim in there, man. I mean, you never know what happened. I mean, when that thing broke, it could have jostled the pipe out of there, and we have a torn shingle that's discontinued, unrepairable. So we've got to get up there and make sure that roof's okay. I mean, we have so many roof claims. Like, it's unbelievable, and it's like, I get that that's like the fish complaining about it being wet. You know what I'm saying? But but in the world of so many roof claims, one of the things that I've done because the task of inspecting this many roof claims is so daunting and physically draining in the Texas heat, because remember, I mean, we're looking at roof claims in 98-degree weather in May. And so it gets really hot here, and it's humid too. So, I mean, it's a draining effort. And I use a guy by the name of Andrew Sullen, and just big shout out to Andrew. No, you cannot have his contact information. No, I will not tell you how to get a hold of him. And no, I will not have him call you later. I won't even give you his phone, give him your phone number. So don't even ask. Andrew is my guy. I am going to hang on to Andrew because he is my saving grace, because that guy is one of the best field inspectors I have ever run across. And I've talked about Andrew before. And Andrew, if you're listening, man, I not only can I not do this without you, I don't want to do this without you, because he is one of those guys that I can go get me an inspection and I don't have to think about it. When he comes back and says, Jeremy, there's no hail on that roof, there's no hail on the roof. I don't have any problem with that. And so there is a level of trust that I think is really important when you have support staff that whether it's Brent, try to figure out where our updated scope is, or Andrew, go up there and let me know if there's any hail damage on this roof. Those things, when you can walk out of the office and go do whatever it is that you have to do and realize all you're waiting on is an answer. And I don't even beat them up for an answer, because I know once they have it, they're good, and they come back and tell me what the results are. That's what I'm talking about, collaborating. And that's the kind of support staff that I want to develop within Remedy Claims itself. And it doesn't even matter what it is that we're doing, whether we're doing public adjusting work, whether I'm doing, I'm speaking or training or whatever the case may be. Those kinds of people in my world are the backbone of what I do, without a doubt.
I had a meeting with my team today, and it's funny, right before we got on the podcast, you and I were talking about like the last 2 weeks. I felt like someone went and left my business cards in like random businesses, and people picked them up and called me, because I've gotten referrals from some of the most unsuspecting places and claims coming in, storm claims, water claims, pipe break claims, freaking fire. I got a vandalism claim today. like all kinds of just random stuff. And I had a meeting with the team today, and I'm like, look, I've been out of the office a lot, running from one side of town to the other. I think I signed like 10 claims in the last 5 business days or something like that. And I just told them, the girls, I'm like, I'm getting that feeling where I'm losing my fucking mind. I just need you to make sure that that we keep our ducks in a row. We got to keep, and I didn't even finish my sentence, and they looked at me and they were like, we'll get them through the process. And I'm like, all right, that's what I needed to hear. So like, you know, I'll say this though, Jeremy, that thing that you and I are talking about, like collaborating with your support team and the people that allow us to go, the people that allow us to do what we do, it's hard. It's hard to get there. It's dude, the training, especially when you bring folks in, you know, if you bring someone into your world that doesn't have experience, it's hard, you know. I don't know that can be overstated. It takes a lot of patience. If there's some advice or whatever in what I'm saying, it's the patience piece. And no matter what you do, if you're a public adjuster or whatever, and you're bringing somebody into your realm, like realize that it's worth it. It's a requirement to grow, but it takes time. It takes time.
Well, that's the whole idea, is that it does take time. It does take a little bit of patience, but learn your job and the why behind we have you doing what what you're doing. That way you can make that handoff that much better.
Yes, and there's a degree, and this is something that I struggle with, where you're in the process of, we'll just say, training, and there's a difference between giving the answer, like this is the what, and this is how you accomplish the what, versus giving the why and, you know, kind of holistically approaching it, because you used the word nuance earlier. There it's just a ton of nuance, and I always say every claim has its own sort of unique fingerprint, if you will, and so therefore
DNA,
DNA, and it's just kind of like, you know, when you're training folks, whether it's admin support or estimating support, whatever it is, you know, you got to take a step back and kind of explain the why. And if you're not going to do that, just realize you're never going to be able to take the training wheels off. So again, that sounded a little preachy at the end, but it's hard. Like, I struggle with it. It's freaking hard, man. It is really, it is a challenging undertaking. So.
Well, and sometimes, like, even like when I was talking about I couldn't get the 7 squares of shingles, you know, figured out, and you call up and you talk to them, and sometimes you lose sight of the why. And I just want to bring this. I want to bring this up. Brent and I, you know, have, and we had this conversation of who do we work for? Do we work for the contractor? You know what I mean? God love the contractors. I'm glad they're out there. They're incredible referral partners. But sometimes I found myself being driven by the contractor, and I lost my why behind what it was that I was doing, because I was working for an expected outcome for the contractor rather than helping the insured prove their loss. You know, and I remember, and Brent and I had a very long kind of, you know, transparent heart to heart, where we felt like that there were some times that we just were worried about the contractor, and I apologize for that. I really do. Not that I love the contractors out there. I want you as referral partners, and I want to collaborate with you on many different levels. But at the end of the day, I work for the homeowner, and that's who I owe an explanation to. You know?
Yes. I don't have
so
much to piggyback on that.
Well, guys, that is all the time that we have for today. I really enjoyed talking about all the different collaborating, and guys, just remember you're never going to achieve it all by yourself. So make sure that you reach out and get help. I want to remind you about our Facebook page and where all the conversations happen. It is there to help you unpack claims. It is also there to ask questions, whatever you got. And it's a great place to see some funny memes. I'm not going to lie. And
You're welcome.
I just want to remind you guys to go ahead and press like and subscribe. We want to know that you enjoyed the show. We want to know that you're tuning in each and every week. And so click that notification icon so that you're aware that we have a new show up. And guys, we just want to remind you, stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Got my hand on the hammer, ready to ram you like the fire slammer jammer. Yes, we're coming up, don't even try to diminish it. I won't start it, but I damn sure will finish it.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.